Hi everyone, Matthew Morris here at Wood Studio, and it's time for another shop update. Well, this has been a really good week, not just in the shop for woodworking, but online as well. Matt Cremona and myself launched a new YouTube show called The Matt and Matthew Show. It's got its own YouTube channel, and we had a lot of fun recording our first episode, getting that online, and bringing that to you guys. So, real quickly, the show is going to be about one topic a week. It's him and I talking back and forth with hopefully a Q&A section and as well as some guests. So we're really looking for you guys to help us with the show, provide some topic suggestions, questions you'd like us to answer. And even if you guys have maybe some people you think we should ask to see if they want to come on the show, send us those suggestions as well. So you can get the show at the Matt and Matthew Show on YouTube or the mattandmatthewshow.com online. And of course, go over to Matt Cremona's channel as well and subscribe to him and subscribe to our show. This week in the shop, I did a whole bunch of work on these two Scotch cabinets. First off, I got a question about the cabinets. It was either yesterday or today, and the question was, are these going to be one bottle or two bottle cabinets? And the answer to that is I made them just slightly wider than that one bottle cabinet I made a couple, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the reason for that was I wanted just a little bit more room across the entire width of the cabinet to put glasses in that were of different sizes, and the size of the glasses I had were just a little tight, so I made it just a little bit wider. I guess you could stick in 2 bottles here, but it's not that big 2-bottle cabinet I made before. So depth is the same, and the width is just a little bit more, nothing too much. So let me walk you through what I've done so far. So again, I'm building 2 cabinets at the same time, and there's a reason for this. One is that one of them sold, and the other one's going to come with me to cross my fingers, knock on a whole bunch of wood, West Coast Craft in San Francisco. I'm also building 2 for another reason as well. And the reason is, you see this cabinet here that I'm holding up has one side of the face frame attached already with the other side of the face frame here. There are 2 different techniques you can do when fitting the rails to the face frame, and the technique I shot with this one is to plane the rails down to the final thickness of the space between the rabbet and the top and the bottom. And the other technique, which I'll shoot with the other cabinet, is to, once you finish surfacing, so you do your finish surfacing on these parts, that instead of bringing it down to a final thickness, you bring the part up to the cabinet, scribe in what that final width is, and then at the chisel, you come in and remove the material so you can sit this piece inside. Is any one of these techniques better than the other? No, not really. They're just different ways of approaching it. If you are more comfortable with hand tools like a smoothing plane, and you know that you can go in there and get shavings that are thousandths of an inch or less off, then this is a great way of doing it. If you aren't quite there yet in your woodworking, or you don't necessarily want to be, then just getting this guy so it's ready for a finish and then chiseling back to the final width is another option, and both of them work equally as well. So besides that, on these cabinets, what else have I done? Well, they're together, unlike they were last week when they were all in pieces. And that's been a lot of fun. The dovetail construction is very solid. It definitely helps to self-square the cabinet. The shelves are glued into those sliding dovetails, and there is just a ton of clamps, as you can see, that help glue in this rail into the rabbet. Now, I had another question online, or comment that was on Instagram, which was clamping calls. It was hard to see in the picture I posted on Instagram, but yes, I did indeed have clamping calls. Clamping call on top with the clamps all the way across the depth of the assembly table here. I had a clamping call inside as well as outside the cabinet. And the reason why I use clamping calls is for a couple of purposes. Number one is to help spread the pressure of the clamps across the entire surface. And number two is to protect the surface as well. So these guys have all been planed. They're pretty much ready for finish, or they're just about ready for finish. I didn't want any oil to be transferred. So if you have clamps that have pads on them, and those pads are plastic, eventually you'll get oil that will transfer from the pads to the wood. And you can use some, I believe, acetone to help clean some of that out, but I'd rather completely skip that process and not have that problem happen whatsoever. So what's next on the cabinet? Well, hopefully by the shop update next week, I should have the rail attached here, the hinges mortised in, as well as the same thing on the other cabinet, and the door is being started, and the filler strips on both the top and the bottom have been glued in. In other shop news, my 3 Forest Woodworker 2 blades are off to Forest for sharpening, which is not normal. Usually I have one in the machine, one that needs sharpening that goes out, or it needs cleaning and it goes to the back of the pack, and then there's a backup for the one that's in, and I kind of rotate them in that direction. Well, it's been a while. I haven't sent them in for sharpening, and it caught up to me, and it was time to send them in for sharpening. So what do? Well, you try out a new blade. So I bought one of the Tenru Gold Master blades. It's a thin curved blade, so slightly less than a full 1/8 of an inch. And so far so good. I had to readjust the fence on the table saw as well as the miter sled to re-zero them out so that when I do my ripping and cutting, that everything's at the correct dimensions for the thinner blade. So far the blades work really well. I've cut a number of parts for the cabinets on it. I'm liking it. I'll have a larger review about the blade in another episode. I also got a comment from somebody about the ebony behind me, and yeah, I have a little bit of ebony, not too much. I've seen much larger collections of ebony than mine. I have a two by 4x5s back here, 1x4x5 above it, and then on top of my tool cabinet, behind my jointer planer, my jointer plane that is, I've got a bit of ebony up there. I've got a couple of 2x4x2s, some 1x4x2s, and some other larger sections from boards that have been cut down as well. So yes, I have been stocking up on ebony, and I will continue to do so every couple of months, buy another piece. The prices of ebony just keep going up, and in the furniture that I build, a lot of it being green and green, I'm using ebony in those projects, and I don't want to use an ebonized wood. I want to use ebony itself. So I'm buying a whole bunch of ebony here and there and just stocking it up. For the table project, I'll let you know that for the Nakashima inspired Trestle table, the butterfly keys that I will be doing will be ebony in that instead of rosewood, which I've done in the past. That's just because the customer who has ordered the table wants the butterfly keys to be in ebony. So those are I'm really looking forward to seeing how the ebony and the walnut's going to look. Well, I've had a great week in the shop, and I hope you've had a great week in the shop as well. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. Go check out the Matt and Matthew show. And if you haven't done so already, check out Matt Cremona's channel as well. And I'll see you guys next week.